Images and scenes that may cause distress to some viewers.
In the last days preceding the torrential downpour in the north of Pakistan, the weather warnings were modest. People could expect the annual monsoon system to deliver widespread and heavy rains for a week, but nobody predicted this. Cloudburst over the northern part of the country that produced the torrents of water that stormed down the Indus River, wreaking havoc all the way. Over the coming days and weeks, gushing and spreading as the floods moved down into the flatlands of the south, sweeping all before it. A flood that would devastate the country like no flood had ever done before. Both the national and international response was slow.
Even people like us did not know what was happening because we thought it was just a little area affected, and then gradually over a week you began to realize the number of people that were going to be affected. 20 million people.
Nobody knew we were going to go up to 17 million. No one. That was a gradually occurring phenomenon. You know, every week it was, no, it's not 2 million, it's 6 million. No, it's not 6 million, it's 8 million. And then the third week, no, it's not 8 million, it's 13, 14, 15, 17. So every week there was a growing sense of the scale.
For those not directly affected, it was images on TV that brought it home.
It's just the images of literally hundreds of miles of territory underwater, millions of people desperately seeking shelter. It was the enormity of the crisis, the magnitude, it hit home.
Tonight on Four Corners, after the deluge. It's 2 weeks ago and we're taking a US military chopper headed for the mountainous northwest part of Pakistan, back to where the devastation started. The chopper is carrying thousands of kilograms of flood relief for villages that are still cut off by the total collapse of infrastructure up in the north. 800,000 people in the country still have no access to relief other than by air.
The bridges in Upper and Lower Deer, which is a northwestern region up in the mountains, one of the more northern areas, there were 41 bridges in those two districts, every single one of them gone. There wasn't a single major bridge left in the Swat Valley that people would have heard of from the fighting last year that wasn't damaged.
We land in the fields at the edge of the township of Kalam, high in the Swat Valley. 18 months ago, the Swat Valley was Taliban territory before the military crackdown, and it remains a tense and dangerous conflict zone. Millions of villagers were displaced by the fighting, but had started to return to one of the prettiest places in the country. Kalam was hoping to become again a local tourist destination. There were shops and hotels all along this riverbank before the floods came. all of them were swept away, including the Hotel Summer Queen, owned by Mohammed Roida.
27 तारीख की रात थी, 27 तारीख की रात का 1:30 बजे था. हमारे होटल के तीसरे फ्लोर पे पानी चढ़ गया, तो हमने वहाँ से गेस्ट निकाले. उसके बाद होटल ने हिलना शुरू हो गई, तो हमने बच्चों को और जो लोग थे उसको साइड पे निकाल लिया, तो होटल हमारे आंखों के सामने गिर गए.
What have you left?
जिससे जान बच गई, सिर्फ मैं और मेरे बच्चे बच गए.
Thousands of villagers from around this area are dependent on relief for basic food. This old man has walked here from an outlying village 10 kilometres away, and he'll walk back 3 to 4 hours each way. He got a ration card which gets him a sack of flour by working to rebuild the roads. It's the same story for all these men. Access to their villages is only by foot, and food there is short. We can't walk with the old men back to their villages. It's just not safe. A few days earlier, the Taliban reportedly issued a threat to attack foreigners assisting the victims of the flood.
The security situation has certainly not improved. It's been bad there for the last couple of years. Humanitarian actors are severely limited in our access. So we're only able to send staff there for short periods of time, and with plenty of time in advance for security to prepare for their protection. That's certainly limiting our response.
And what's the impact of that on the population?
The population doesn't get as much attention, and they don't get it as fast.
This is the outskirts of Peshawar off the motorway.
Mike O'Brien from the Red Cross is driving us out of the city of Peshawar. We're out of the Himalayas, but still in the northern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We're heading to a village on the road to Nowshera, where homeless families struggle to survive. The lucky ones get a tent.
They're families who are really living on the fringe of being able to support themselves in the first place, and when something like this happens, they're in all sorts of trouble.
Can you give us a sense of what sort of numbers we're talking about?
Each of the provinces gave different figures for the number of people who were displaced, houses destroyed. Yeah, here in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in the northwest, we were talking in the early stages about 480,000 houses destroyed, and upwards of 2 million people displaced.
We arrive at the village of Momingari, where the Pakistan Red Crescent Society is setting up a clinic. Over 400 hospitals in the country have been damaged or destroyed by the floods, and so mobile clinics are trying to fill the gap, trying to stem the flow of waterborne diseases and infections.
Skin diseases, upper and lower respiratory tract infections, gastrointestinal infections, watery diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, and these are the main things.
Hyatt Mir came for treatment for an infection in his eyes. His family lost their mud-built home in the floods. They now live in a tent. Hyatt took us to his family compound to see what's left.
So what, this was a mud house before. This was the house here, yeah? Right where we're standing. So this is what's...
All that remains of their 5-room home is a low wall of rubble.
Can you tell me...
Yasmin Bibi is Hyatt's mother. The rest of his large family is clustering around.
Tell me about what happened.
او به دې سړو وې راځي چې ځو چې واپس رالو نو ښه ارسه وارو بدلته کې بیا ځان لکه بس راسخې تنبان منبان مو لګولې هغې کې اوس اوسېږو که
There are 13 family members to share this tent. All of their household possessions were damaged or destroyed. They now have just a few pots and pans. They've lost their livelihood as well. The land they used to farm is underwater. How will you live in the future?
بس دا سوچ کوو چې خدای دې راله راکړي خدای دې را باندې مهربانه شي نو چې بس دا کورونه ودان شي نو بس دغه سوچ کوو نو نور بس څه سوچ وکړو
Most of these farmers are subsistence farmers. They borrow from the bank to get a crop in the ground. That crop provides them food for a year, enough to repay the loan, enough to sell to buy a few other essentials that they might have that they can't barter for, and seed for the following year. So all of these people are in debt, or the vast majority of them are, and the crops are gone.
By the second week of the monsoon rains, the floodwaters had surged down the bloated Indus River south into the Punjab province. We're joining a relief run taking food to those still isolated by the flood. The irony is tragic. The millions of acres of farming land drowning below us in a normal year make the Punjab the breadbasket of the country. This is how it feeds the majority of its people. This is where it earns its major export income. What had begun as a humanitarian disaster has now become a national economic crisis. And 8,200,000 people were directly affected in the Punjab alone.
So suddenly you have found people, millions, destitute. And I wonder, how it must feel suddenly to have lost everything and no way of earning an income, no roof over your head. And then a government which is totally incapable of dealing with this crisis.
All of the prime agricultural land has been flooded. And so you just do some quick mathematics and we're looking at sort of losses that run into the tens of billions. There's all kinds of estimates out there and I'm not in a position to verify which one is good or which one isn't. But I've heard 35 billion and I've heard 15 billion. And these are just agricultural, economic losses owing to the floods.
We're driving to the district of Muzaffargarh, one of the worst affected regions in the southern Punjab. Thousands of displaced people who the indebted government is incapable of helping have set up flimsy makeshift shelters. They perch on the edge of narrow levee banks or squat in the scorching sun by the side of the road. International agencies and NGOs are bringing in relief, but just last week Pakistan's government conceded that over 1 million of its flood-affected people have received no help at all. In this climate, the Foreign Minister accepts that Islamic extremists will try to step in and fill the vacuum. Do you have a concern that extremist groups will exploit that vulnerability and difficulty that the country faces to strengthen their position?
They would want to, but we have to ensure that we do not permit them to do so. We do not create a vacuum for them to fill in, and that is why I've been asking for international help.
We're on our way to meet one of the main Islamic groups causing concern, the Jamaat ul-Dawa, to be shown their relief operations and to meet their local chief. A Punjabi police unit insists on accompanying us. Desperate people in this district are getting impatient and some of them are armed. Jamaat ul-Dawa is listed by the United Nations as a terrorist front group, widely linked to the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
Most Australians should have heard of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. The Lashkar-e-Taiba was responsible for the attacks on the Indian Parliament. The Lashkar-e-Taiba renamed itself the Jamaat ul-Dawa when it was banned. So in actual fact, the Jamaat-ul-Dawa is the same old Lashkar-e-Taiba that we see re-emerge in 2008 in Mumbai, and I'm sure most Australians have seen the coverage of the attacks in Mumbai because they were horrific.
From ABC TV Australia?
Yes, yes.
You've come to film your relief operations, yes?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for-
Big man, FIF.
He's a big man, FIF?
He's chief of Fly Insaniyat Foundation.
So you are the chief of this organisation?
Yes, yes.
The Fla Insaniyat Foundation, or FIF, is the latest renaming of Jamaat-ul-Dawa.
Food?
Yes,
And
yes,
water?
yes, yes, yes.
In the boats, yes.
Prepared food.
Prepared food?
Yes, yes.
And
This is what happens repeatedly. These groups are banned. They change their name. They continue to operate. They're banned again after another terror attack. They change their name. So what's important is that the government should say, look, any group that's been banned under any name, if it reemerges under any name, we're not going to allow it to operate. They need to put their foot down. But can they is another issue.
We drive out following Jamaat-ul-Dawa along the edge of the saturated floodplains. Underneath the water lies the ruined crops of cotton, lentils, corn and rice. We pull up at a place which Jamaat-ul-Dawa uses as a relief distribution point. There's no question that they're not operating openly with everybody's knowledge. The military sends out boats from here as well. A crowd of women have gathered, herded together underneath the JD flag. They're begging for food. The military tell us not to film the women. They say they're not genuine victims of the flood.
They are coming to us on daily basis and they are asking for the food. Otherwise, they are not actually the affected people. The affected people are, you can see in front. Just have a camera on that side.
Jamaat-ul-Dawa is taking us to talk to the families to whom they're delivering food. Out here are small islands of stranded villagers who'd rather stay marooned than live on the side of the road. They also want to protect what little the floods have left them. The Punjab police insist on coming in the boat as well. There's been looting out here, they tell us, and robbery and murder.
क्योंकि असल कत्ल हो जाने बंदे मर जाने और उनके पास टिकट अक्सर वारदात ही होने आवाम घर छड़ जाती पीछे दो बंदे रहते हैं ना पीछे आकर मार के सामान चुक ले जाना.
How many families in this area are you assisting?
150.
150
Yes, yes.
families. 150 families? Or
Yes,
people?
yes.
150 families. The villagers tell us they were just tenant farmers. They've lost their crops and their animals, and most have lost their homes. But Jamaat-ul-Dawa is helping.
And you are grateful? Did you know Jamaat-ul-Dawa before? They helped you? Did you know them before?
जमात-उल-दावा दे बारे पहले पता सी थानू?
नहीं सानू नहीं पता. इन्ना लोग नहीं सानू नहीं पता. And what do you think of them now?
इन्ना दे बारे की समझदे हो? क्या की लोग हैं? कैसे लोग हैं?
मतलब सानू तो यही पता है अल्लाह दे तरफ है इन्होंने अल्लाह दे तरफ ने इन्होंने भेजा है बस सारा तो कोई शायद ही नहीं बिया भाई.
As we motor out, Abdullah Abid volunteers how cooperative the Pakistan military have been.
Military cooperated with us.
military cooperate with you?
Yes. For the distributing of relief goods.
So you and the military cooperate to bring the relief goods to the people in this area?
In this area.
And there's no hostility, no conflict?
No conflict at all.
And do you do...
वहाँ उनके पास ना जरा सामान महफूज होता है इसलिए वहाँ रखाया जाता है उनकी गाड़ी में.
Heading for the next island, we can see the drowned cotton crop poking through the flood waters. When we get there, it's a familiar story. The army assists the villagers, but also Jamatul Dawa.
Very good leaf you took from
नहीं कल भाइयों ने आया ना जेडी ये इन्हें क्या साहब को कहना परचाइन तन इतना सा बंदा भेजन राशन सबको मिल गया राशन जमात दावा हमारा साथ बहुत तामन कर रही है वो 2-3 मर्तबा हमारा पर्चियां दी हैं और उन्होंने हमें खाना भी दिया है इनकी बहुत हिम्मत है.
Did you know Jamatul Dawa before the flood?
आप तो पहले जमातु दावा से बारिश पता सी तो
नहीं.
They're doing a good job?
अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं.
हाँ काम तो अच्छा कर रहे हैं ना ये हमारे साथ तावन कर रहे हैं डेली आते जाते हैं.
What do you think of the way the government has assisted?
गवर्नमेंट का कोई अभी तक कोई नहीं आया हमारे पास. कोई MP कोई MN वगैरह हमारे पास आया नहीं अभी तक.
It's a repeat of the 2005 earthquake. That's exactly what happened then. They turned up, they set up relief camps, in fact alongside international camps set up by aid agencies as well as the military, and gained political support and gained recruits.
We've been taken back to Jamatul Dawa's compound in the bowels of the city of Muzaffargarh. At the gates there's a cluster of people clamouring for a handout. Inside is the hub of JD's food relief work for the district. Volunteers are cooking up basic meals which will be trucked out to camps of flood-affected people in time for the breaking of the Ramadan fast at the end of the day. They tell us they have fed 145,000 people in this district alone since the floods arrived. They deliver prepared food as families in the camps lost not just their homes, their pots and pans and cooking utensils were swept away as well. It appears a well-organised operation. They've done this kind of work before. There's no talk of the charity group FIF. The chief tells us they're all Jamatul Dawa. Are all the people outside the volunteers, are they all members of Jamatul Dawa?
Yes.
Are you getting many new volunteers after the floods?
हाँ बहुत सारे लोग जो है ना वॉलंटियर के तौर पर यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं सैलाब के बाद नए लोग भी आए हैं.
Many new members?
Yes.
You would be aware that the Western media and Pakistani commentators say that one of your motives for doing the relief work is to recruit people for militant groups. What's your response?
नहीं ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. हम तो मुल्क के अंदर तालीम का काम कर रहे हैं, रिलीफ का काम कर रहे हैं, खिदमत खलक कर रहे हैं, कोई रिक्रूटिंग नहीं कर रहे. मेडिकल का काम कर रहे हैं. मेडिकल एड का काम कर रहे हैं.
I have to ask you, people say your group is related. What is your relationship to Lashkar-e-Toiba?
लश्कर-ए-तैयबा कश्मीर के अंदर एक फ्रीडम फाइटर ग्रुप है. हमारा उसके साथ क्या ताल्लुक होना है? हमारा तो पाकिस्तान के अंदर काम है.
So you're saying no relationship?
No.
They have the same leadership, they have the same headquarters, they have the same, agenda. How then are they different?
Is there any concern in this country that extremist groups will use their relief work as a winning of hearts and minds exercise?
They could have, but the response that has come through the massive national effort and the international support, I think their designs, if there were any, are subsumed.
Can I ask you specifically if Jamatul Dawa's work is of any concern to your government?
I think, first of all, I think it is being exaggerated to a large extent, and B, look at the entire relief effort that is taking place. They are not a drop in the ocean.
But look at the image that they can create out of that presence and that assistance. And that is where the problem lies.
Four weeks after the deluge started, the floods have reached down into the southernmost province of Sindh. We're flying on a relief mission out across floodplains as vast as the eye can see and beyond. 20% of Pakistan is now underwater, and in Sindh the waters are still rising. In the past 36 hours, a further 200,000 people have been forced to flee their homes as their villages have been submerged. Those that remain live on narrow strips of high land and levee banks, cut off and dependent on food from the sky. We're dropping 2 tons of high-energy biscuits, but nowhere near enough for all. It's first there, first served. The Sindh, we're told, is now the area of the greatest unmet need.
Almost certainly that's Sindh right now, the southern part of the country, because remember, that's where all these rivers that have been overflowing, they're all now dumping down into Sindh, and the water is just not draining. It's not flowing out into the ocean, and it's not draining. So Sindh is really where we have yet to reach many millions in need of aid.
What's your immediate concern for the future?
Disease, followed by malnutrition.
We arrive at the city of Saka at night. It's the 3rd largest city in the Sindh. In a poor country, Sindh is the poorest province of all. The road from the airport to the city is crammed with tenant farmers whose villages have been flooded and they've nowhere else to go. 100,000 of them have moved into camps in the city, but there's no room for all. A further 60,000 are squatting with their children and livestock wherever they can find a spot. There's no system here for delivering relief.
बस यहाँ कुछ नहीं मिलता है, नहीं खाना मिलता है, नहीं कपड़े मिलता है, नहीं दूध मिलता है, नहीं हमको सौदा मिलता है. हम वापस चले जाऊंगा, फिर क्या करूंगा? हमको उधर हमारा जो है ना भाई बहनों उधर फंस गया है, उसको लंच भी नहीं देता है. सब मिस्किन है, गरीब न लड्डू.
Desperate for help, villagers show us their ID cards to prove they are genuine victims of the flood.
हमारा बच्चे थे, अन्न थे, घर बर्बाद हो गया, हमारा मोटर गया, कुछ नहीं मिला, हमें जमीन सारे गए, फसल गया. हम
The asset base of these people, these sort of poor subsistence farmers, has been wiped out, and their income generation capacity in terms of agriculture and livestock has also been wiped out. So these people are really sort of staring at the barrel of sort of total and utter poverty unless a massive sort of influx of aid comes through.
It's morning time in Saka. Villagers herd the precious livestock they've managed to save down the streets of the city. More than 1 million perished in the floods. Over the road there's a long queue for breakfast at a relief camp run by the Pakistani Air Force, or PF. It's chapati and dal. Over 2,000 people live in this camp. They get a basic cooked meal 3 times a day, access to a medical clinic and a tent. They've lost all they possess, but in this desperate situation, they are the lucky ones. Every day, the camp manager tells us he turns away thousands of people.
So the people are coming day by day, in number of thousand people are coming. So those are approaching directly the PF camps because there is so many facilities, and the other camps are not properly looking after to the peoples. So that's why the people are approaching.
And why can't you take them?
We have only area of more than 300.
So how many do you turn away every day?
Please.
Hundreds? Do you,
please.
Just a big,
no more. I told you, please, no more question.
No more
please,
questions about how many people can't come inside?
No, please, no more question. No more question. I told you earlier, no more question. I have only permitted for 3 questions. Because if you have any sort of questions, and then contact with my boss.
And are these her children?
The aid organisation Save the Children has come to the camp as well. Its priority is combating waterborne infections and diseases in children. This family's youngest child, Navida, has sores that are becoming widespread in the camps.
It's quite common. It's a skin infection that's been caused by children who have been in the water and they've had contact with the contaminated water. We've seen a lot of these cases with this type of rash on the back, down the arms and on the legs. And the simplest way to treat it is with an antibiotic cream which has to be applied to the sores.
What's contaminating the water to that extent?
The dead animals and obviously just the level of stagnation that's been in the water. It's been there for a long period of time and there's a lot of livestock and dead animals that are in it at the moment.
So you've seen a bit of this, yeah?
We saw this yesterday in a couple of cases as well in the schools. Not to this extent, but certainly you see the sores around the face and on the back of the arms and legs.
The family came from Jakababad, an area that was completely engulfed. Over 400,000 people were made homeless. Everybody is gone? Did you leave before the water came or were you there? How did you get out? How did you leave? And what could you bring with you? Along the edge of the camp is a large flat expanse of stagnant water. A place for women to wash, a place for children to play, a place to cool down in the searing heat, and a breeding ground for disease.
Just the stillness and the stagnation in the water is a huge concern. These are prime areas for mosquitoes, and obviously with the mosquitoes come the malaria, and that's one of our biggest concerns for the children here in the camps.
So has there been any cases of malaria to date then?
Across Sukkur, it's reported there's been more than 10,000 cases of malaria. In this camp alone, I'm not quite sure. And that's one of the biggest concerns that we have for the children here.
The women here are taking the water out from a pump. That's presumably a good thing, yes?
It is. It's a deep tube well where the water's coming from. So the water is, in theory, clean. But obviously our concerns are when children are drinking the water from the actual the ponds by the side of us here. The children are swimming in the water and playing, and obviously there is that potential for them to ingest the water.
And what will happen if they... What's the risk?
The biggest risk is diarrhoea. That's one of the biggest risks.
How serious is it if a child gets diarrhoea in a camp like this?
In these conditions, it's very serious. We've got temperatures of 45 degrees. We've got children drinking water. If they have diarrhoea, they lose more and more fluids, and obviously there's a potential for them to become severely dehydrated.
And what are the potential consequences?
Death is a simple consequence of severe dehydration.
There will be excess mortality. There is excess mortality going on now. I don't know the figure, but it will not be insignificant.
The GMC hospital is the biggest hospital in Sukkur. This is where mothers from the camps and the roadside bring their sick babies. The hospital now devotes 4 wards to treating just acute diarrhoea, with 2 or 3 babies in a bed. Dr. Abdul Memon is the chief paediatrician. 90% of the cases he sees are infants and young children.
This is not the ward actually, this is a corridor, and we kept the bed here for the children, and you see 4 children are lying here with diarrhea. And they come from Jakababad.
It's completely flooded, isn't it? 4 weeks ago, there were 5 or 10 diarrhoea cases a day. The day we came, there were over 100 children admitted before noon. Their mothers jostle in the corridor to get the doctor to see their child.
These all the 4 patients have come just now from the outpatients, and I have seen them. She is severely dehydrated. She is having loose motions and vomiting, as well as you see she is 1 year old.
So she's tiny.
She is severely malnourished. So it's very difficult to manage these patients with diarrhea and with dehydration.
Does she come from one of the camps?
She came from a far-flung village of Khairpur district, which is nearby to Sakha district. That's why they have come here.
From the floods, she's come,
She has come from, you see, this baby is 2 years old. She is also severely malnourished, and she is having loose motions and vomiting and with the distension of abdomen. He is the elder brother of this baby. He is also having loose motions and vomiting and with severe dehydration. She has come from Kathoai Baba. She has also come from Khairpur with distension, and now they are living in some camps, right? She is also having severe dehydration. Okay, Dekhar Baba. Kathoai ho? They have come from Gauspur. This is Concord district, which was first affected, first affected in the Sindh. And they are living in a camp.
And why are they all getting sick? Why are they all getting this?
They are getting waterborne diseases. And we can't, how many patients we will treat in the hospital? They are coming with severe dehydration. Every day the quantity is increasing. Today we have 100 patients. We have dealt 100 patients. I have just discharged 10 or 15 patients downstairs, and now here I will discharge 10 or 20 patients. So we have to keep the beds for the new coming severe dehydration. We only cover dehydration, and then we give them medicine and go back.
They can't stay here. There's no room for them.
How can new coming people? How can we accommodate them? 100 patients daily.
100 patients every day.
How can we accommodate? So we recover them from dehydration, and when they are hydrated, then we send them in 24 or back to their camps with the medicines. Majority of them. If some are sick, then we keep them here. For example,
a child like this, I mean,
she will be kept here because she is very sick.
Is it possible to put a figure on what percentage of children in the camps are suffering from acute diarrhea? Is it possible to put a percentage figure on that?
I think at least 20% children are suffering.
At least 20%?
This is my
your
guess.
guess. I understand that.
But we don't have a firm estimate. Now you see the wards.
As the doctor stops to speak with the mother, there's a call of alarm. An infant we have just seen has stopped breathing in her mother's arms. The mother has slumped to the floor.
Sister, अच्छा बाबा इनके जल्दी से लगाएं, ड्रिप लगाएं और मसाज करो, डेकाड्रान लगाओ, ले जाओ वार्ड में ले जाओ.
For the next 20 minutes, the doctor and the medical staff work to save the child, putting in a drip, listening for her pulse, trying to restart her breathing, a heart massage on her tiny frame. This little girl is 1 year old.
She went in shock. I have given him emergency medicine, adrenaline, and gave the fluid and oxygen. Now she is having the heart break, but we will have to try.
Do you think she will make it through? Do you think that she will survive? Is she in danger?
Yes, she is in danger.
There was only ever the smallest chance that the child Sarah would make it. After 20 minutes, the medical staff gave up the fight. Her mother carried her out of the ward alone, almost swept aside in the bustle of other cases still to attend to. A stranger gives her mother water to wash and close her eyes. It's over. If nothing is done about the quality of the water, how many children do you worry about will die from dehydration, from gastro, from diarrhea? Are you worried about that?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine how many. You see, they are already malnourished. When they will have 2 or more episodes of diarrhea, how can it be possible to them for survival? They will have to fight with the God then to make it survive. Otherwise, there is no chance. So I can't imagine how many deaths they may have.
The first deaths that have taken place have been of under 5s. And it has been basically waterborne diseases, the easiest to tackle. I mean, this is why it's so frustrating. Can you imagine that WASH has only been met, I think it's about 30% of the appeal has been met as yet. What's the problem? Corruption? Civilian ineptitude? I'm sorry, it's indifference.
You think from the international community it's indifference?
Well, I mean, it's not an understanding that this is an immediate and urgent need.
The world was very slow to understand not only the magnitude of the problem, but the scale and the amount of the damages and the devastation. So far, we believe only 1,600 people were killed. Perhaps that was the reason. But in terms of livelihoods lost, hope lost, access to health, food, shelter, the magnitude is bigger than the tsunami, the Haiti earthquake, the Pakistan earthquake all put together.
Do you think it's anything to do with Pakistan's image and standing in the world community?
I've heard all sorts of theories that it might be that people said, let Pakistan take care of this problem, that people in Europe were on summer leave. We really don't know, as I said.
People reacted slowly because people were taken by surprise. That's one reason. Second, when people did realize it, they did not have faith in the Pakistani government. The credibility of the government is so low internationally and internally. Within the country also.
If you would like to make
refuse to give money to the government.
This is not about paying Pakistan's bills. This is about looking at this tragedy and this catastrophe and this calamity, as a humanitarian crisis where, you know, maybe just somewhere less than 20 million, but a significant number of human beings require food, shelter, clean water, medicine, and clothes. And I think the world community should continue to give to the international NGOs and the local NGOs that they have some trust in to sustain those people, to keep those people alive, to keep them from sickness.
The world community has given substantial aid to Pakistan. Thousands of tons of food, health and shelter facilities have been provided. This is the Red Cross warehouse in Peshawar, where they're loading up their trucks to send out flood relief all through the night. But everyone knows that the aid provided by all the agencies falls far short of what is needed. The United Nations says by 35%. Millions have been left in need, and the need is still rising. The floods continue to spread, and the disease toll is mounting. But the world has stopped watching and is tiring of giving. These are a resilient people, but this load is too great for any people or country to bear.